Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. It's Friday Fire. This one is a big one because there is so much stuff literally on fire right now. It's wild, completely crazy. The video is called The Debasement Trade, and we'll be talking about where all this debasement is happening and how people are positioning. We'll also spend a lot of time on TradFi and adoption and new price targets. I mean, if you would have come to me a year ago and said, I'm going to show you 3 slides today and say, is this possible within 12 months? I said, not in a million years. And here we are. It's going to be wild. So buckle in. Thank you, SD, Sean D, TD, K8, and everybody else for coming. And people all over the world really appreciate you. And Nick M and Anglo Blacks, and thank you all for coming. Buckle in. And I'm also doing something new as well on this. I'm structuring the themes, so it's easier for people to keep track of what I'm talking about when I go through it. So let me know if you like that. Just give me a thumbs up in the comment below. And this is not financial advice. And a big thank you to everybody on Patreon. This is Stairway B. InvestAnswers has changed my life for the better. So much great info here and on Patreon. Woohoo! Thank you so much for being part of the crew. Let's get into the Bitcoin news first. It's been a wild week, record-breaking week. First of all, last Friday, I said we are the most oversold since August and March. And we're primed for a pump. Wow, we did get that. And I don't normally go back and share that stuff, but boy, and this is crazy. This little chart here from Be Kind But Shrewd at 10:14 a.m. this morning, $13,000 in a week. That's a quick. This puppy has gone up 13 grand in a week, ladies and gentlemen. And we hit a new all-time high, not in US dollars, but in British pounds. So again, throw me one of your British flags if you're from the UK and you made a new all-time high in your sterling today. Wild. Again, I can't remember the exact number. Is 99,000 pounds and change. But anyway, it just shows you how the currencies are very different. And by the way, many new currencies hit all-time highs today, not just the British pound, but many. But I thought that was a big one too. So again, nothing but goodness happening. And the chart still looks really strong. We'll get into some more stuff happening, but there could be a little bit of bumpiness as well over the next 7 days. Let's look at options analytics. There is, this is options expiration for the 10th of October, going out about 7 days on Deribit. A lot of big money plays out to 121, 124, and then a couple at 130. It's pretty muted compared to some of the other ones. What is interesting, though, is the max pain is 115K. So middle of next week, the market makers could try push us down to this level. So beware of that. If you're prepping, make sure you have your liquidation limits under 100K just for safety. Now let's go back to the calendar where we are. October has been wild. It's only day 3. Day 3 isn't even over, and we're up 7.6%. We did 5.31% in Rectember. Rectember is normally red. We were positive. This is an extremely bullish setup, my friends. I've been promising you a wild Q4 for months now, and here we are, GQ Trader. I hope you're trading well. Thank you for coming. Let's look at what happens historically as well. Shout out to Chewy. These are killer gains in October. If history repeats, it could be different, but it's setting up to look really good. 2013, we had 53.8%. 2017, 49%. And 2021, 39.94%. Remember, these are years of the exact same position we are in the 4-year cycle. So they all correspond to exactly where we are now. And if history repeats, we could be looking at 45% gainers, which would be wild. I don't think we'll get that high. I do believe in diminishing returns. But even at that, if it follows this trend line, it means at least 30% in October. Okay, Uptober, I should say, which would take us to 130K. And literally, we were 6,000 away from that earlier today. Absolutely wild. Wild indeed. Thank you again, GQ Trader. Now the BTC ETF flows are very strong in October so far. Over $2 billion has been sucked in, and today hasn't even been counted yet. So it's going to be a great week. All across the board, money is flowing in fast, and IBIT is stacking big. They now hold 777,000 Bitcoin, and they just bought 3,859 Bitcoin. One player, one ETF. And remember, only 450 Bitcoin are mined per day. and many of the miners are hodling, so it's not even hitting the market. Wild. Now, another good news too. It's nothing but good news today. It's wild. I was hoping well, there is some bad news coming towards the end on the macro side. We'll get to that. But this is the chart from CryptoQuant. It looks like the people that are holding the 18 to 24 month hodl band, age band, whatever you like. And this is the growing share of long-term holders who have kept their coins for at least a year and a half to 2 years. And unlike in past cycles, these investors have held through the downturns. They've held through the all-time highs, and they've gained renewed conviction. They've been on this train for a long time, and they are not selling. In fact, that cohort is growing. And historically, when you look at when this cohort grows, you get these big blue upturns. It's normally not muted. It's consistent, lasts a long time. And what happens after that as well, the Bitcoin price goes up. So we could be in for a little surprise here as well for Bitcoin's long-term trajectory. And again, these things are happening at different stages in the cycle. Normally, the long-term holders are getting out at this stage. Some of the whales did, but not this cohort, which is fascinating. And then we have McRib. I will spend a second talking about McRib. Would never try one, never had one. It's a McDonald's food, which is probably poison, some type of toxic sludge. So be careful. But people always talk about this. And they talk about how when the McRib returns to the restaurants, Bitcoin price goes up. But really, they return in Q4. And Bitcoin goes up in Q4 anyway. So I think it's just a coincidence that the McRib season lines up with Q4, Bitcoin's fire season. Welcome to Friday Fire. Good times. Let's look at some more details about crypto too. General crypto. App revenues have surged, so the market is red hot. Solana did 6.12 million in the last 24 hours of app revenue. Hyperliquid, half of that, about 3.5 million. Ethereum, 2.7 million. And again, people say, oh, Solana's dead. Yeah, it's not on the data we're looking at. But hey, it's just people spending money on chain. What's wrong with that? That's a good indicator. Now, the big story today is this thing called the debasement trade. And I'm going to spend a second on this. This is now how TradFi is waking up to the realization, okay, fiat is a melting ice cube. Fiat is toast. How do you protect yourself against your ice cubes melting? So a lot of people are buying gold. Now central banks around the world, like Poland, India, of course, China has been stacking like mad, but Poland has just jumped in too. These central banks cannot get enough gold. They are buying it hand over fist. Absolutely crazy. And when we look at the gold chart too, it is not slowing down. I cannot remember the time on the ATR model where I saw a chart like this trend massively upwards, making new all-time highs every 2 or 3 days for over a month. It is under complete constant accumulation. And this is the year of 2025, by the way, too. It's just been wild. Gold, as I said a couple of weeks ago, is heading to $4,000. No ifs, ands, or buts. And why do we care? Well, it means central banks are flocking to hard assets because they know fiat is debasing like mad and they need to protect themselves. And the only things they know as a conservative central bank to protect yourself with is 5,000-year-old shiny rocks. That's it. That's it. Can you imagine the day when it comes where a central bank has the foresight to understand there's actually a better gold out there, gold 2.0, aka Bitcoin? When that happens, we're really going to kick off. But let's get back to JP Morgan for a second. This is what they are talking about. And this is running around over the last 24 hours. JP Morgan analysts have finally caught up with what Bitcoiners have been talking about for 15 years. Investors are asking for a debasement trade. They are worried about their fiat melting, and they are flocking to hedge against inflation, government deficits, government debt, geopolitical uncertainty, crappy fiat currencies, etc. And for the first time ever, it's not just gold. But all of a sudden, JP Morgan did some calculus, or they've been watching my videos for the last couple of weeks, and said, you know what? If gold stays at this level, Bitcoin should be at $165,000 by Christmas. These are the guys that hated Bitcoin for a long time. And now they're saying it's going to be 165K by Christmas. Wild. Again, pinch me. I can't believe this is happening. And then JP Morgan as well. Talk about the 100-day lead. And this is from Joe Consorti too. Again, undervalued relative to gold on a many different bases, price, volatility adjusted basis, implying at least a 42% rise in Bitcoin up to 165K. And this is the debasement trade right now. The option action on IBIT is wild. People are betting huge on exactly this target. So if you take the IBIT price of like 67, 69, there's tons of option action at $100, which equates to about $165,000. So somehow TradFi reads this and they go buy these out of the money options like mad, hand over fist. It's crazy. TradFi is coming in droves at 100 miles an hour. So be ready. And I have shown this Bitcoin gold chart quite a bit lately as well, but it's turning up at last. We see a little gray breakout. The trend's about to turn and flip. Blue should be green. And the lines are green. And yes, Bitcoin at last is catching up to gold, but it has a long way to go. Again, as I said before, if we get back to all-time highs of 41 ounces of gold per Bitcoin, that takes us to exactly, guess what? 165K. JP Morgan is looking at these videos. It's great. Nothing makes me happier. I'm about to say they may not be. Maybe they are. I'd imagine they are. I know that the Tesla analysts watch us on Cyber Bulls all the time too, but it's crazy. And this takes me to my next theme. This is TradFi and adoption. TradFi are coming in droves. You ready? We like to be in early, and we are. Citibank, not just JP Morgan. These guys are going nuts. Their base case for Bitcoin is $181,000, 12-month target, which means no bear market. Bull target, 231K. Okay. The Bitcoin bear is 82K, but we were down to 75K. It could swing. That's a pretty nice range. It's basically from the base to the top of the bull, it's a 3x. So they're going to hit their target in that range for sure. But it's crazy. Like Citibank, even more conservative probably than JP Morgan. We used to call it Bitcoin the equivalent of what Warren Buffett and I can't remember the other guy's name. Charlie Munger used to go rat poison square. Jamie Dimon thought the same thing. But now Citibank are saying these massive targets. What's going to happen? And TradFi are coming, and the markets are going 24/7. As we said, everything will be tokenized. Everything will be 24/7, trading, and we're never going to sleep again. But that's okay. But CME Group will now launch with Bitcoin First, 24/7 trading, again, for futures and options. You got to remember that if you take, for example, the amount of options action on gold compared to the spot action on gold, it's like 100x. It's a huge multiple. And CME knows that. That's where all the money is made. Also, in Europe, shout out to our Spanish friends. Yeah, I was talking about Spanish electricity yesterday. Now we're talking about one of Spain's biggest or second biggest bank, BBVA. They just launched round-the-clock Bitcoin trading through its mobile app, making it the first Spanish, maybe European institution to offer continuous 24/7 Bitcoin trading. And they have $1 trillion in assets and 70 million clients. So again, just think about it. 70 million people now, if they use the mobile device, they can trade Bitcoin 24/7. Oh, mad. And there was a time when Santander, if I recall, were blocking people from centralized exchanges to buy crypto. Now, the second biggest bank, if it is our first, in Spain, is now promoting it. Crazy. Now, TradFi as well, but real world assets, which is, the three big themes for me on crypto, okay, is number one, stablecoins. Number two, decentralized exchanges, perp dexes, that type of stuff. And number three, the tokenization of everything or real world assets. They're the three big stories, my friends. And for years, for a year, everybody's saying, oh, BlackRock, they're not touching Solana. Nope, they're all in on ETH. They don't even have a Solana ETF. and Buidl is all in on ETH. Well, guess what? Over the last couple of weeks, BlackRock's Buidl Foundation fund, which is a money market fund, is expanding to SOLANA, and their tokenized treasuries are just the start of internet capital markets. Again, you cannot deny better, cheaper, faster. It's only a matter of time. And here we are, Buidl are on. And within 2 weeks, the RWA on Buidl through SOLANA goes up 600%, $200 million in money market funds. Again, 200 million, not a lot for a company like BlackRock, but it's only 2 weeks in, ladies and gentlemen. Fast forward 12 months, that'll be billions guaranteed. And speaking of DEXs, Dex volume leaders for the last 24 hours, Solana about $1.5 billion, Ethereum $1.16 billion, Arbitrum is up there, 721 million, Binance 433 million, and Avalanche 200 million. They're the top 5 of DEX volume leaders. Again, that is one of the 3 big stories. I repeat, DEX, perp, volume, stable coins, and of course, tokenization of everything. It's all happening. And shout out to Mert, friend of the channel. Sol is very quietly approaching all-time high, while several staking ETFs with huge size will go live soon, by the way, i.e. soon, within weeks, probably in this month. Thank you, B-Man. And we are heading into a DeFi explosion. And then we're heading into the biggest conference of the year in Solana Breakpoint, where tons of new products and partnerships will be announced. Again, that normally triggers big gains and the run up to this event and others. But again, nothing but goodness. Now let's talk about some weird stuff, some sentiment and signals, mixed signals. Let's get back, first of all, to where we are, not looking at the October performance, but the Q3. Okay, that is Q4, October, November, December. Average gains in this season, 27.3% for October, 38.5% for November, and a paltry 10.3% for December. But I do want to say what typically happens in December, it runs up until getting close to Christmas, and then it sells off a bit towards the end. So if you trade seasons, remember that. So if you cut the December off as of the 15th of December, those gains would be a lot higher. Anyhow, other weird sentiment that's going on too is consumer sentiment is in the toilet. And typically when this happens, there is a recession. And this from the University of Michigan Sentiment Index, and it's down around 55 and reading below 99% of historical data points going back to 1952. And at the same time, retail sales are up a little bit, but the consumer is not doing well and the consumer is not feeling good. So I don't know what they're spending on. We'll see. Maybe some Teslas before the $7,500 credit went away the other day. Anyway, speaking of Tesla and markets, let's get into the markets now. And I hope you like the structure so you know exactly the theme we are on, because I do go very fast. NVIDIA wins the bumpy week. And yes, it was a bumpy week. We saw Tesla shoot up to about 175 and then fall back down to 120 and change after crushing record high numbers across energy storage and cars. But that's how things work. And people are asking me a lot of questions in the last 24 hours. How come Tesla fell down? You know, the euphoria when it hits 450 and then it goes to 470, and then the sadness when it hits 450 again is just human behavior. But you have to remember the price is made at the margin. It's how many buyers and sellers. If the buyers stopped buying and a little bit of sellers are there, the price will go down until it's exhausted. So that's how it works. It's not everybody's dumping their Tesla. No. Price is at the margin. Sellers dried up. That's the problem. But NVIDIA shot up 5.3% this week. Apple 1.5%. Microsoft 1.4%. Google down about 0.5%, a little more. Broadcom flat, basically. Tesla up 0.5%, but it was up a lot higher. And it's just been a very volatile week. Meta and Oracle selling off. And that's kind of all for the markets. But let's dig into a couple of other things. We always stress 2 things here in this channel, the 2 big narratives: technology, aka disruption, and crypto, aka disruption. That's it. That's where you need to play. Nowhere else. And now, if you look at this chart, 56% of US stock market cap weightings are in technology. Okay? It's where all the growth is happening. Nowhere else. Top 10 stocks in the S&P 500 drive everything. And this is all market caps. It's all tech. There's going to be massive disruption over the next 5 years. So if you're holding things other than crypto and tech, don't expect some good results. Now, speaking of crypto and tech and fintech, Robinhood have just listed all MicroStrategy preferreds, at least STRC, STRK, and STRF. I don't know where STRD is. Maybe that's not there, but they are now available on Robinhood. If you want to park some money in their version of a money market fund and get some extra gainers. And speaking of Michael Saylor, yes, I know MicroStrategy is weak, but just wait. We need some volatility to come back to Bitcoin. But MicroStrategy hit a new all-time high in holdings, which is very nice. You can see here, they just hit, by the way, Bitcoin price is 122,640 as we speak. It hit, how did we go today? We went as high as 123,966 bucks. Super close, so $500 away from all-time highs. By the way, I have a poll on X. Are we going to hit a new all-time high this weekend? I think so. Weekends is when crypto pumps. But MicroStrategy have a new all-time high in holdings, $77.4 billion worth of Bitcoin. Remember, when they first started out in this journey, the market cap of MicroStrategy is only $1 billion. Now they have nearly 80 times that worth of Bitcoin. It's been a savage 5 years and it's a wonderful ride. So don't complain when MicroStrategy's come off the all-time highs a little bit. Just remember, it was trading in the teens only a couple of years ago. Wild. Anyway, Tesla's affordable model has been seen running around. I shared this last night and some details on Patreon as what I think is going to be in this car. I think they're obviously changing the lights. They're making the screen smaller, no rear screen, fabric seats. They probably have a smaller battery. They probably have a simpler motor, I should say, simpler wheels. But I think it looks kind of nice. I kind of like these little lights. They kind of remind me of the Model 3 lights. You don't need the big space beam and everything else. But anyway, that's coming. And that if they can get to close to 36K, 35K, 37K, I put a chart as to what it'll do to the total addressable market, the TAM. This is the average US car price. And the average US car price today is $50,000, give or take. And it's the real versus nominal chart there. Blue is the sticker price. You can see it's gone up. And this black is the price in 2025 dollars. Because of debasement, the average car price used to be a lot higher, 56K. And car prices are also going to be higher because of things called tariffs too, and increasing cost of materials and motors and rare earth metals and stuff like that. So it's going to be wild. But if you can undercut the average car price by like $15,000, you're going to sell those things like hotcakes. So I'm so excited. I think in the next week or two, we'll know about the official launch of the Model 2 or the affordable Model Y or the stripped out Model Y. I don't care what you call it, but it'll be a great game changer. And remember, they can manufacture at scale like nobody else. Every other EV maker in the world loses money making EVs. Tesla make money with EVs. And now the credits have gone for crappy things like hybrids and other cars. So the competition's gone too, because the competition, the only way they can not lose more money is to sell less EVs. And there's only one player that can make money. So it's like, it's such a checkmate. It's not even funny, my friends. And energy storage. I wrote a paper years ago about how I believe the megapack business is worth $1 trillion. Well, they deployed 12.5 gigawatt hours of energy storage. And that's an 81% growth year over year compared to Q4 or compared to Q3 last year, Q3 2024. And they sell all of this, 31% gross margins. It's a money machine, absolute money machine. Now, macro, final theme of the day, and some scary news here too. Scary, different, but as I mentioned before, not only are stocks a huge part of market cap weightings, but they also contribute nearly half to the GDP of the United States, GDP growth of the United States. And this is from Bridgewater. That's Ray Dalio's shop. Okay. Nearly half of all the growth that happens in this country is because of tech. So you always want to be where the growth is for maximizing returns. But part of the problem we have now is debt. Debt surged $1.7 trillion in just 12 weeks. Shout out to Charlie B for this chart. If you imagine in the US, there are really only effectively 50 million taxpayers that pay any significant amount of tax. They just each of those taxpayers added $34,000 in debt to their tab. 34 grand. That's on top of the $1 million already. That's how wild this is. $1.7 trillion in weeks. Unthinkable. Everything you have will be debased except for hard assets. Remember that. Debasement, the debasement trade. That's what we're talking about here. It's because of this. TradFi is seeing, ooh, this is bad. This is real bad. But it's other sad news too. U.S. employers are dialing back hiring plans, and they announced they just don't want to bring on. I think it was last month they announced plans to add about 117,000 jobs, which is down 71% from a year earlier. And now they've cut that again, and this is not good. And this noted a significant slowdown as well in seasonal hiring patterns. Normally coming into kind of the holiday season, Christmas, etc., places like stores hire a lot of people, but that's not happening too. And another sad news too: more jobs were lost in September. August was rough. September is worse, and this will just continue. And by the way, this is from ADP. ADP is a payroll processor. You have BLSBS, which is BS, which is government statistics, BS. ADP is the truth because they process the payroll. They know when the payroll is not being processed. So if you want real labor data, check out ADP too. And because fiat sucks so much, the US government had to buy its own treasuries because nobody else was lining up to buy them. They bought $3 billion of these puppies in one day because nobody wants that crappy melting fiat. And final meme of the day. And sorry it was long. There's 50 slides today, my friends, but there's so much to do. Thank you once again, Sean D, T&D, and I'll say a big thank you to everybody else as well. In a minute, while I sweat here for a second, because I'm so excited. It's the weekend. But this is a cool Bitcoin chart. Shout out to Chewy as well. I modified it ever so slightly. I hope you don't mind. I was using Nano Banana for that. Ta-da! But, people, if you look at the history of Bitcoin, people will say, the Bitcoin haters will say, oh, price has gone up. You just got lucky. And then the price will fall and say, you're stupid. Then the price goes up. Oh, you got lucky again. And then the price falls. You're stupid again. And then it goes up. You're lucky again, stupid again, lucky again, stupid again. We're at the lucky again phase, ladies and gentlemen. You just got to get this thing and wait and be patient. Big rule of investing. I hope you all learned something today. Chris, I like that. I'm glad let me try to pop something up. There he is. It's moving so fast. Thank you, Chris. Fantastic information. I try. My mission is always KPM. I've got to share at least one piece of learning every 60 seconds. That's my KPI. Thank you, Nick M. Anglo Blacks and Snickers Toasted, DBF 430, Elga Calda, Sir Winston, Moto 89, GQ Trader, Zeno, Sylvan, Quebec Coiner, QC Coiner, I call you Quebec Coiner, Kashi, Swiping No Swiping, Forest, B-Man, Vagabond, Anjo, and Doc Intern. Appreciate you all, my friends. I hope you like it and buckle in for the weekend. It'll be wild. Bitcoin's 112,600 bucks. Had a nice move today, and everything else is going to be great. We're in Q4, but let's hope we can ride this nicely till the middle of December or so, maybe a little earlier. We'll be monitoring everything every day, every step of the way. I'll be here. Do or die. Thank you all. Good night.